Assalamu alaikum everyone. Ustadha Nasima will be giving her motivational speech entitled The Tree of, I think it's Tree of Iman?
Yeah.
The Tree of Iman. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, assalamu alaikum everyone. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. So I wanted to start off by just reading to you the verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he actually mentions a tree. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he talks about it, and we'll inshallah go into a little bit of detail about this tree that is mentioned. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, this is from Surah Ibrahim, verse 24, he says, Alam tara kayfa daraba Allahu mathalan kalimatan tayyibatan ka shajaratin tayyibah أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء. So Allah says, have you not considered how Allah presents an example of a good word like a good tree whose root is firmly fixed and its branches high in the sky? تؤتي أكلها كل حين بإذن ربها ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس لعلهم يتذكرون. It produces its fruits all the time by permission of its Lord, and Allah presents examples for the people that perhaps they will be reminded. So in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that have you not seen a good word, which is like a good tree? So this verse is actually talking about the shahada, okay, when we say la ilaha illallah, that when we say this, that this is like the actual the good word from which then the tree comes. So we can say it's like the seed, and from that then we see that a huge tree actually grows from that. So this tree, I want to look at some of the components that we see from the tree. Okay, if we imagine that just from saying La ilaha illallah, when we say that a huge tree is growing. Okay, so the tree is made of certain parts. We know that the tree has roots, it has the trunk, it has branches, leaves as well. And we've just come out of spring, so I'm sure you've seen how all the beautiful blossoms grow on the trees. Yeah, so try and imagine that in your head when we're thinking of the tree in our head. So from this shahada, when we say that, the first thing that we have to think about is the actual roots. Okay, this is the strongest part of an actual tree. Okay, and this is what is actually connected with our faith. Okay, the roots have to be really strong. Without strong roots, then the tree can just end up dying, okay, and withering away. So the roots are actually have two parts, which is the knowledge of La ilaha illallah. So when we say La ilaha illallah, what does it actually mean? Okay, how does it affect our life? How does it affect our actions and our behavior? And the second part of the roots is actually then the conviction. Okay, that if we believe in La ilaha illallah, if we know what it means, then how does that actually manifest in our actions? Yeah, the way we actually live our lives. How does our shahada, yeah, when we say La ilaha illallah, how does it actually affect that? So this is something to think about, that when we say La ilaha illallah, that it should definitely have an effect. Okay, if we think about roots, okay, once roots actually come in, sprout, yeah, for a tree, then we know that from that a tree is actually going to grow. It can be a strong tree, it can be a weak tree, but if we have strong roots, then inshallah we will see that a strong tree also grows from that. So we have to really ensure that our belief, our iman, when we say La ilaha illallah, that is really strong. Yeah, that knowledge that is actually connected to that, about why we're saying that and how it affects our actions, has to really be strong. Okay, so this is what really we need to focus on and really strengthening. Yeah, just like when we're growing a tree, that we're thinking about the roots being really strong and really burrowed into the ground. Okay, the second thing is the trunk. Okay, so we have the tree, and from the tree being in the roots, that we have the trunk that comes out from that. Okay, and the trunk in this analogy is like our sincerity, our ikhlas. Yeah, that are we actually doing everything for the sake of Allah? Yeah, that when we think about fruits that come from it, when we talk about the fruits, that it has to be that it's done with sincerity, that we have to be doing it for Allah and for nothing else. Because when we say La ilaha illallah, what we're actually saying is not just there is no God but Allah. But actually, we're saying there is no God worthy of worship but Allah. Yeah, this is really the true meaning when we say the Shahada. Yeah, that no God worthy of worship. So if we know that, that is surely going to have an effect on why we're doing actions, who we're doing actions for. We know that we're doing it only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that means that we will think about the fact that we have to do it for Allah and nothing else, not for the people, yeah, not for people to say our name, not to show off, yeah, or for anything else, but purely for Allah. So this is really important, that our sincerity is really strong and that we're doing it for Allah. And the next thing that we see as part of the tree is the branches and the leaves that come out of that trunk, yeah, that come from the roots, then the trunk, then the branches and the leaves that come from that, and the beautiful blossoms and the fruits as well that we see as part of that part of the tree. And this is what we would analogize to be the good deeds that we do, okay, the righteous acts that we do as believers due to our belief in Allah, yeah, due to our belief that no one has the right to be worshipped but apart from Allah. And also it's part of our character as well, yeah, in terms of how we are as a person, our manners and our adab, our akhlaq, yeah, our behavior, yeah, how we perceive things, yeah, when things happen in our life, how do we act, yeah, how do we treat other people. All these things are also part of the fruits that come out, yeah, that are part of the branches and the leaves and the fruits of this tree. Okay, so this is what we should be imagining in our heads when we're thinking of how the good word, yeah, from this good word, that a beautiful tree grows out from that. Yeah, that this is how it is. This is how we should imagine ourselves in that. Yeah, that we started off as just a little seed, and from that is our belief, and from that we saw that a beautiful tree grew. Yeah, that our actions were purely for the sake of Allah, and also that we did good deeds and good actions and actually tried to have the best adab and akhlaq as well. I had the best character as a result of that tree being like that. Okay, so I wanted to now talk about how Ramadan is also helping us with making the best fruits, you know, or producing the best fruits for us. Okay, so Ramadan, we know the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He actually um, revealed Ramadan is because for us to attain taqwa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah Al-Baqarah, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, yeah, that Allah prescribed fasting for us so that we might attain taqwa. And taqwa actually has to do with our sincerity. It has to do with our righteous deeds that we do, our character as well. Because if we are trying to attain taqwa, taqwa is to be in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we know that none has the right to be worshipped apart from Allah, when we say that is our, the roots of our tree, yeah, then the taqwa is really the what is composed of the trunk and the branches and the fruits that come out as a result of that. So Ramadan is about actually cultivating that tree, yeah, making the best possible tree that we can possibly have. Okay, and this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He asks us to fast in this month, and He asks us to increase in good deeds, to increase in obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because what we're really actually doing is nurturing that tree that we have. Okay, so if we actually use Ramadan correctly, the way that it should actually be used, we should see that the good deeds are manifesting in ourselves, yeah, that we see that our behavior, our adab, our akhlaq is also affected. Even the way we view things is affected as well, because this is what Ramadan is really meant to do. It's meant to be cultivating us, yeah, cultivating that tree that we actually have. So this is really what we should actually see. So now the question comes is that how do we actually nourish that tree? Okay, we have that tree and we know that Ramadan is actually meant to nourish that tree and actually cultivate that tree and make it the best possible tree that it can possibly be. But how do we actually nourish it? So now I want to go a little bit outside of the tree. Yeah, the tree doesn't just grow anywhere. It grows in soil, right? Yeah, the tree has to have good soil. And this is where now the Quran is the soil of our tree. Yeah, this is what we should be actually breeding or cultivating our tree within, okay, which is the Quran. Yeah, and the Quran is the thing that is going to actually cultivate the best tree. So the Ramadan, we know that is actually the month of the Quran. Ramadan is actually the month that the Quran was actually revealed in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also in Surah Al-Baqarah, he says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. Yeah, that Ramadan was the month that the Quran was revealed in. هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. Yeah, that the Quran is the guidance for the people. It actually tells us how to live our lives. Yeah, how to do the good deeds, how to beautify our character. Yeah, and it actually tells us the right from the wrong as well. So this is what Ramadan is about. Yeah, that is the month of the Quran. It was the month that the Quran was revealed, and it's the Quran that actually then also guides us on how to be bear the best possible fruits. Yeah, to have the best possible fruits, and actually then that these are the actions and the deeds that then go up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, there's a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also to consider, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually makes an analogy again with fruits. Okay, so he says that the example of a believer, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that the example of a believer who recites the Quran. Yeah, so we're talking about how the Quran is, the soil within which we can bear beautiful fruits. Okay, so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that the believer who recites the Quran is like the citron which smells good and tastes good. Yeah, so if you actually cultivate yourself with the Quran, yeah, if the Quran is actually the soil within which you grow, yeah, and within which you actually build yourself, then it's like the citron which smells good and also tastes good. An example of a believer who does not recite the Quran is like the date. Yeah, that it has no smell. So if we think about dates, we've been eating dates in Ramadan. Yeah, that it has no real smell to it, but actually it tastes sweet. When we have it, it's very, very sweet. Whereas when you think about citrus fruit, yeah, that you can smell it, isn't it? It's got very fragrant smell, very nice smell. And also when you taste it, it's got a nice smell as well, nice, sweet, tangy taste to it as well. Okay, so this is the one that recites the Quran, but the one that doesn't recite the Quran, the believer that doesn't recite the Quran, it still has a sweet taste to it. Whereas the one that doesn't, okay, so the example now, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says the example of the hypocrite who recites the Quran. So the one that doesn't have that Iman, yeah, the one that doesn't actually have that strong faith but recites the Quran is like an aromatics plant. So it smells good, like on the surface it looks good, yeah, but actually when you taste it, it's bitter. Yeah, this is actually when you recite Quran, but actually you don't have that foundation for the Quran. Yeah, you don't actually have that strong faith, yeah, in the belief in Allah. Yeah, so it's really important to have both. Yeah, that you have that strong faith, and also then you have the actual recitation and actually acting upon the Quran, using that as your soil. An example of a hypocrite who does not recite the Quran, yeah, so you don't have that strong foundation, the strong belief, nor do you recite the Quran, is like a colocynth plant which has no smell and its taste is bitter. It's like a type of gourd, this type of plant. Okay, so it has no smell, you can't smell it, there's nothing, on the surface level there's no goodness in it, and even if you taste it, there's no goodness in it. So we want to be the ones that actually are like the citrus fruit. Yeah, that when we see us, even from the surface level, when you smell it, that you can see that it's got a good smell. But also when you go delve deeper, you see that there's a beautiful character and good deeds that come from it, and good acts that come from it as well. Yeah, so this is what we should all be aiming from, and it's only by actually turning to the Quran that we can actually do that. Okay, so it works in a two-way thing. Yeah, that we do good acts, and that actually has a way of actually strengthening our Iman, and also that we strengthen our Iman, and that also leads to us doing good deeds and perfecting our character and having beautiful character as well. But we have to turn to the Quran, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said that the Quran is the guidance for us here, huda linnas. So if we really want to have good deeds and beautiful character, yeah, we have to therefore look to the Quran for that, and look to the guidance that the Quran gives us as well, and how to actually do that. Okay, so inshallah, with Ramadan now ending, it's really important for us actually to think about how do we use the Quran. Yeah, I'm sure you guys actually, spend a lot of time reciting Quran in Ramadan, but how does the Quran actually then make us go on to bear fruits even after Ramadan? Yeah, that we have the most beautiful tree that grows from that as well, even after Ramadan. And that's by actually contemplating and learning the Quran, yeah, and understanding the Quran. So spend time on that even after Ramadan. Yeah, the Ramadan is meant to be like um, the starter. Yeah, that is actually the push. Yeah, the start of the year. It's actually meant to give you that push that for the rest of the year, that actually the good deeds come from that, and that we actually contemplate on the Quran and use it as a guidance even in the coming months after Ramadan, inshallah. And this is really what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He looks to. Okay, that Allah does not look. There's a hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he actually says, Inna Allah la yanzuru ila suwarikum wa amwalikum, walakin yanzuru ila qulubikum wa amalikum. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't look at the way you look. Yeah, He doesn't look at the money that you have, your wealth, but what He looks at is your heart. Yeah, that is your heart. Are you sincere? Yeah, do you do your actions for the sake of Allah or not? And He looks at your actions as well. So this is really what we want to breed. This is really what we're looking at. Yeah, that we want to use the Quran as our guidance in the coming months, that actually we bear that fruit as well after Ramadan, inshallah, for that. So make that intention that even though Ramadan is finishing, inshallah, in the next few days now, that even after Ramadan ends, that we're still going to focus on the Quran. Yeah, we're still going to try our best to look at the Quran and look at its guidance and how it can actually make us bear the best possible fruits within the coming year, inshallah. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Dawah is more than just likes, shares and subscribes. How is it that there's so much content out there and we're not getting any better?
We've seen it all before. A new refutation video gets uploaded onto YouTube and people think it solved all the problems of the Ummah, right? False.
Over the last few years, I've had a massive realization. We're missing something because we've been so engrossed in unsustainable dawah. Unsustainable dawah is that punch and judy entertainment. It's that saccharine sweet preaching that lacks any real connection with the issues facing the Muslim community and the wider Ummah. These are issues we've all seen before.
Just think for a second. Hundreds of graduates, thousands of students of knowledge, churned out every single year. But where is the grassroots impact? Where is it? So whereas our growth is a testament to how we've harnessed collective spirit and individual talent, we believe that is what barakah is. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives barakah to knowledge, it turns into action.
So, where will your donations go? Well, we have 4 organizations that need your help. Al-Madad Outreach delivers Muslim-centric mediation, counseling and intervention for those facing faith crisis and domestic violence with an upcoming listening line.
The Quran Institute, to build everlasting relationships by providing young Muslim families to grow together.
Quran Academy, nurturing and discovering the future talent of this Ummah through critical thinking in the Quran.
Subba Collective, providing a home away from home for restless souls, whilst building bridges within the community through collective worship and social consciousness.
Meher Nisa Women's Centre, a sanctuary run for and by young Muslim mothers.
The donations are for running costs like rent and utilities, as well as startup costs for delivering many much needed projects.
So, after hearing us out, what can you do? Well, number 1, donate, obviously. Number 2, make use of our services. We make them for you guys. And number 3, reach out to family and friends. Oh, and don't forget, like, share, and subscribe.
Let's build a continual legacy together, an alternative history, a new way to be remembered, where the work outlives the founders and flourishes through future generations, building an Ummah-wide effort through something as seemingly insignificant and underrated as a sincere heart.